collections like the McFarland collection that celebrate a time when people were fully empowered with their lives and fully in control of their land and their resources, really, I think, provides an important kind of touchstone for young people, maybe, that just say, that, look, this is our heritage, this is our land, this is our culture, and we have a right to be involved in a discussion of the future.
To me, it's really amazing for me to, to see and actually hold objects and tools and weapons for hunting that was used, 150 years ago. Or it's really amazing.
Well, these are all from Labrador too, but every now and then there's something that will be, like from Hudson's Bay territory, which could be a lost Inuvialuit piece. Like to me, this is interesting because it's got baleen webbing. So, were people doing that around Hudson's Bay, or is that a Western Arctic kind of bowl?
I think the most important part is we now have an avenue and a way to access these things to be shown to our people in our area.
Inuvialuit had to be very resourceful, and they had to be creative. To make these things that they needed to survive. Yeah, their imagination was really something. Yeah.
It looked like they put babiche, drill holes. Water dripping out right there. And what's babiche? Babiche is a rope that's made out of hide. Thin strips. Seal, I think, is used too. I think it's raw hide.
Sometimes what do you call the tendons?
The tendons and the cartilages. Yeah.
James, this is ivory. Is it ivory?
Yeah.
Where would they get ivory from? Anderson River trade, maybe?
Probably.
Alaska.
Oh, and see in this one, then you can see the pattern.
Yeah.
If you hold it down. So maybe that one once had a pattern like that too. I guess what I find really interesting is that they always make the knowledge current. They don't think of it as the past, they think of it as a living tradition, and they're often thinking and talking about how it might be used today. And the knowledge may not be used, like nobody's planning to return to a land-based lifestyle completely, but they're always thinking, well, I'd like to teach this to my grandchildren, and it's always about perpetuating that knowledge and making it current for the present.
Yeah. This is some kind of an ornament. It's quite heavy because they're all bunched up. Ivory, Ivory shapes of fish, and it's probably an ornament,
These kind of look like it might represent how many whales or whatever a person got. These ones.
Yeah, it's more likely a necklace, That, like if you had a longer piece of string or hide, raw hide.
Is that something that's unique to you guys? Have you seen one that's like that before?
To me, it's unique.
Yeah, I haven't myself.
But I'm going to take a picture of it. And the other part is, I think it's a living document, a living project, whatever you call it. When we go back home, and we and we do our presentations and show these objects to schools, to community, their input is going to be really important too.
This is a weapon called a throwing spear. A throwing spear. And we thought that maybe, like when you're in a kayak, because of the stability, this type was used because basically they weren't standing up, they were actually sitting down. And the way it looks like this one here was used for harvesting of birds and different ducks that were molted, and in the Beaufort Sea there's a lot of ducks that use the water and they can't fly.
A spear would be a spearhead.
This one would stay on the
Yeah.
longer
Whale,
handle,
yeah.
but this, once it's in a whale or whatever, this part will come out. Yeah.
Goes inside the whale. Harpoon in on both sides.
Yeah.
The artifact we're looking at is telling me that our people were very ingenious in finding ways to make these, and the thought that went into making something like this, it's actually quite amazing. Just the way they've managed to put it together and use it as a tool to harvest, or a weapon to harvest food.
Unfortunately, I don't have my crib sheet with me today. It goes right. This is the McFarland boat.
Yep.
Is that the one you were looking for?
Yeah, this is can I pull it up? Yeah, this is the kind I was thinking about, because there's this is a smaller version of the larger one that I saw when I was a child. It was near Anderson River in 1948. And my father and his friend Edgar Kotukka, one spring actually made one almost like this, exactly like this one. And they picked up, they had to look for special driftwood along the shore called ikkir, which is more flexible, and it has it's not spruce, but it's sort of a hardwood, and it makes for a good spring. And they also put a ugyuk, or bearded seal rawhide line all the way on the back. They made a groove on the back, and then they tightened it at both ends. They tightened it, and that made it for extra strength. But I didn't see them at that time, because I think they had the groove done inside, and maybe they didn't need. This was not necessary, the winding. So anyway, that's basically what I saw when I was a child. I try to take in as much as I can to absorb what I've learned and shared with the group that was with me. They've been very helpful, helped me to share opinions and ideas, some of the things that we were not sure what they were for, from listening to their perspective. And
the hardest thing to find was pieces of straight wood, right, for your kayak paddle.
Mm-hmm.
And so they protected it by putting this whalebone and ivory along the edge. And you see that in the archaeological sites all across the Arctic. You'll find these, the wood is long gone, but you'll find these little protective pieces. And to me, that's just so ingenious.
you need to do that sometime.
Yeah.
I do that every now and then with my sled, the runners, the wood runners.
Yeah.
Down at the bottom side, where over time, wear and tear, it starts to thin, right? So we had, well, not necessarily whalebone. You could use a piece of hardwood or anything. I learned from the others like Helen Grubin and James and Mervyn, and I hope that they've learned something from me too. So. I'm wondering if some of these were parts, engine parts, or
Kind of looked like this one looked like a valve, huh?
yeah.
Well, or something like this one too is so, the brass on that is so heavy. Well, see, this one has a lead core, and then it's surrounded by brass. I mean, there's some very sophisticated metalworking going on that these guys, who's making these pipes? Are they Nuviallo making them? Are they trading them? Quite dramatic. It's quite a dramatic collection, and that McFarlane would get so many of them. There's another 6 or 7 in the box. This one here is very special. It's we were looking at it, we're taking pictures of it, and we noticed that on the bottom of the bowl there's writing on it. So we looked at it really closely, and what the writing says, it's the name of these British boats, including the Plover, that were looking for the lost explorers in the Arctic, and they went to Barrow, and they would, when the Inuit came to trade, they would give them these buttons and ask them to sew them on the coat. And then when they went back east, if the lost explorers, if they came across the lost explorers, they would see the button, they'd see that it was English. And what the button says is where they're leaving food, where food and supplies are going to be left for them, because by this time, when this button was made, they had been lost for 6 years. Nobody knew what had happened to them. And so it's a kind of a neat idea. People wouldn't speak the language, but they might see the English word or something, and someone just found that nice button and made it into a pipe. It's just so delicately made with the beads on it. Isn't that beautiful?
Even beads for eyes.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. The eyes are so tiny.
Intricate work.
Yeah, this one here, how he carved the notches in there and then put the...
Before he tied with a rawhide, you make groove it down, groove it all.
All of them.
All of them
were
got
split.
Yeah.
Were split, and then
they
carved. That's how they carved them out.
Yeah.
They split them and then they tied them back together.
Maybe that's also said you take them apart, clean them, and put them back together.
Yeah.
Just talk about how people would do anything for tobacco. Just trade anything for tobacco.
Powerful.
It was just amazing exchange of ideas, because a lot of the objects that we saw, we haven't seen, before.
We have some odds and ends, we have the pipes, and then we have these very interesting wooden boxes that have drawings on them. And I think it would be really interesting to try to discuss, maybe as a group, because in a way they're ancient Nuvialloid photographs. It's people's drawings of their way of life that would be very interesting, I think, to look at. When you start to look at them in detail, they're incredibly detailed. So here's the beluga hunt. Now there's two interpretations. So here's, these guys, whether they're fighting or not, but you start to look at it. Do you remember seeing that double curved knife, that knife that had that strange handle?
Yeah.
I said, now are these pelts that have been hung up to dry in the cold weather, or is it what that guy was talking about earlier about how they would hang eagle skins and things like that? So like in this case here, a raven or an eagle skin or something, the person's talisman. So I don't know, it would sort of be fun to just discuss each one. There's an X-rated one here. I'm sorry, the kids can't see. For just the men, the married, only married people can see it. Here's another one. You know, like viewer discretion advised. Do you think is that just drying pelts for you know, like fox pelts or something? Is that something people would do? You know, in the cold, it's just dead. But it'd be wonderful to hear what people sort of thought about some of these things.
Yeah, I'm a little puzzled here with this one, James. These look like boat, huh? Right?
Omer.
Omer. This one too? Now, what is this man doing?
Is it a boat or is it a sled?
Oh yeah.
It's one
Well,
of those
yeah, it's on sled, eh?
Yeah.
Because this man is pulling, right? And there's a dog there.
Yeah.
And he's got a walking stick.
Yeah. And this one here is kind of in the back helping push along.
Yeah. This style of transportation I've seen a number of times in my life on the mainland and also Victoria Island, Banks Land. I've seen that happen from Puluksaktok to across the Banks Island. You know, putting a big boat on this sled. Go by dog team, you know, to this Alice Bay. So this was happening way back too. So its tradition continues, eh?
You know, it'd be really interesting to find a group of young men and women or teenagers of both sexes to be able to maybe just have an opportunity to try one of these, just to see how they worked when our ancestors used them. That's the part that really interests me, you know.
But I think we're all kind of hitting our stride, and the elders are identifying things that they would like to be doing more of. Frida Ratty would like to be doing more pattern making because the gloves we saw yesterday were really unique, and gloves are no longer a tradition in the Western Arctic. People use mitts. And so I didn't know myself. I mean, there's surprises every time Stephen brings out a tray. I think there are surprises and people are becoming more vocal about it. The youth as well, they're starting to identify things that they would like to be doing with this information as we go forward with the project, so it's exciting.
I'm just interested in the gloves because we never see this kind out of fur anymore. Because myself growing up, I never had gloves, or I never seen my parents with gloves like this. And to see this interesting. And I'd like to make myself a pair. You could tell they had a lot of talent in them. Yeah. They make something to fit too. You know, you could see it fits the individual they're making it for. Tell that they really try to make something to fit.
I'd like to actually try and make a replica like this and just try it, you know, just to see. Like I said earlier, you know, with the type of tools that were used, the animals were a little harder to get. You would have to be a lot closer to them. So with something like this one here, basically the way it's looking to me is it was basically used in a kayak because of the stability. And our people spend a lot of time in the water. I think we're very fortunate to be down here and be chosen to come down and look at these artifacts and clothing and weaponry and be able to go back home and hopefully pass it on.
You know, it's so nice with a group like this when you have elders and young people together, and they help each other out as well. You know, the elders provide the language and the culture and the context, and the young students, you know how to put it all on the web and how to interact with modern media and stuff like that. And so
It's what they use to color the harpy, that seal skin at the bottom.
with modern day equipment and the technology through the internet and that, I mean, these actually could be brought right into the schools, into the community, for our people to see them firsthand. We might not be able to touch them like we are doing right now, but at least they have an idea of what's down here and how well preserved they are.
Well, I think if we had a series of really great multimedia products, like maybe we'll do a curriculum project, maybe we'll get hooked up online with the Reciprocal Research Network, which is based out of the Museum of Anthropology at UBC. That's like an online type of web format that people can look at objects, they can comment on the objects. So any Inuvialuit could log on, look at objects that were theirs if they had information about them, or if their parents or parents' parents did. They could just create more and more information